Rich homie Quan has died just days after posting a cryptic message to his Instagram. It's also just after he was mentioned in his friend-turned-enemy, Young Thug's RICO case, with Quan being due to testify soon. The timing of his death couldn't be stranger. News of rich homie Quan's death. On September 5th, the tragic news of rich homie Quan's passing hit the news. Before he died, he posted a very cryptic message to his Instagram page. The message read, "Vision clear through the bull." I think we can all agree that's a very strange thing to post before your death, and it sparked all kinds of theories and rumors. In the comments of that post, thousands of fans and supporters have rushed to share their condolences, while others have shown their doubts about the mainstream story, which says he died of an overdose. An autopsy hasn't been done yet, so we'll have to wait to find out the official cause of death, but some aren't buying it. On rich homie Quan's last Instagram post, one user wrote, "Y'all believe he got poisoned?" which, as you can imagine, sparked a huge debate with many rushing to give their opinion on it. One person agreed with him and wrote, "Most likely, something is behind all these rappers' deaths," which of course is a reference to the sheer amount of rappers who have died in the last few years. There's a long list of them, which one user shared in the comment. Although there are many names on this list, you've got to remember that's not even all of them. It's safe to say something needs to change. Most rappers either die from drug overdoses or gang-related violence, so sadly a death like this isn't that out of the ordinary, on the surface anyway. In the same post, one user shared why they believe this was a legit drug overdose and wrote, "I believe he sadly poisoned himself by taking pills laced with fent. No one has to kill you if you're killing yourself. Rest in peace to this young man." Reading that you'd think that Quan was a drug addict, and in 2022 he shared a few things about his turbulent life and drug use. Back then, Quan said, "I had a dark cloud over my head, and I probably was the lowest I was in my life." He was referring to around 5 years ago, around the time between 2016 and 2016. But at the time of the interview in 2022, he said his drug dependency was behind him, and he was clear-headed. So what happened? Did he turn back to drugs, or did something more sinister happen? Well, another comment on that same Instagram post revealed some interesting rumors that might shed light on what may have really happened. The user wrote, "This just a prank for the press, right? I don't even think rich homie does hard drugs though, because why would he? He has children. Something ain't right at all about this. He was friends with Young Thug, and there's a YSL trial still going on. Maybe something happened. I don't believe he would overdose himself. If a person has been doing," they added that, "somebody probably knows something. RIP, I just don't feel like he's dead though. It's way more to life than dying in Atlanta over drugs. He ain't stupid." Unfortunately, it's not a prank, and we now know he's definitely dead, and although that person is making wild claims, some things have to be considered. Did rich homie Quan even do hard drugs? It's possible, but unlikely since he's a father and has also said himself that he's over his drug use. And then there's the Young Thug and YSL situation, which has sparked all kinds of rumors. That wasn't all that rich homie had to deal with. He also had an ongoing legal situation with his old record label, which must have been stressful. Quan certainly had foes, but he also had many friends in the industry too. It wasn't just fans that rushed online to share their condolences. Many other famous rappers did too. Megan Thee Stallion put a story up that said, "Rip to one of the best." Quavo also immediately reacted and said, "May God be with us. Never saw this being a part of our journey." He even shared a picture of himself and Quan along with his deceased nephew Takeoff. 2 Chainz also posted this picture of a diamond-encrusted Quan chain to his Instagram and said, "Damn, lil' brother, we just spoke about shooting a video. Special prayer for you and your family, and pray for any and everybody that's dealing with something. My condolences, bro." It looks like Quan was loved by most of his peers and was seen as a legend and inspiration by newer rappers. Playboi Carti received the Artist of the Year award at the Billboard Hip Hop Power Players event and expressed his condolences to Quan while accepting it.
RP Rich Homie Quan.
The whole industry seemed to adore him, and it was actually a fellow rapper who was one of the first people to break the news of his death. On Twitter, Boozy Badass, a rapper and good friend of Quan, wrote, "Just talk to you, bra, never go. Forget your smile and the way talk." Of course, your music, Quan, seemed to be on the verge of a comeback, and with so many artists saying that they were either speaking to him or planning collaborations, makes his death even more heartbreaking. He had just started touring again and had even released new music this year, so it looked like he had plans to restart his career. From all the positive responses from other rappers, you might not think anyone would betray him. But remember, not everyone saw him that way, and he was also involved in some very serious beef. His girlfriend discovering the body. It's too early to tell exactly what happened, but what we know right now is that his girlfriend discovered his body. A few hours after his death was announced, a 911 recording was leaked of the phone call she made to emergency services, and people have a lot to say about it. People are questioning things said between his girlfriend and the emergency services, with some finding it strange that his girlfriend apparently didn't know what a defibrillator was. On a post that shared the audio, one guy commented that rich homie 911 call was heartbreaking when she said she didn't know what a defibrillator was, and others were more sympathetic to her, but angry at the operator. Another wrote, "If I was rich homie Quan girlfriend, I would have snapped on that call. It's probably best if you heard the call so you could make up your own mind about it. Here it is."
I need an ambulance.
Tell me exactly what happened.
My boyfriend, he's been asleep on the couch since this morning. Well, he never came to bed last night. Sleep on the couch. I left him on the couch before I took my son to school this morning, put a blanket over him.
She then goes on to say how he's not breathing and foaming at the mouth.
And now I just checked on him because I see he never got up. And I don't see him breathing. I don't feel a heartbeat or anything. And I turned him over. I see he kind of foamed at the mouth.
Next, the phone operator asks if there's a defibrillator available.
If there's a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
I'm not sure what that is.
His girlfriend sounds pretty traumatized, so it's understandable she forgot what a defibrillator was. I mean, come on, who just has one of them lying around? After that, the operator eventually sends the paramedics and keeps her on the line while she asks questions about Quan. The operator then tries to instruct her to perform CPR, and she panics.
Okay, so we need to help your boyfriend now. Okay, listen carefully. Lay him flat on his back on the floor and remove anything under his head.
He is not waking up. Quick.
Let's just say people are angry with the operator. One user had this to say about it. The operator is terrible. She told her to put him on the floor. Then you hear a crash, and then the girlfriend panics. The girlfriend already knew none of that is going to fix the situation. He's clearly has passed in his sleep, and most likely his body is stiff. Why would you put him on the floor for chest compression? Also, a defibrillator just chilling around? No sense of urgency. Repeating the same dumb questions. She's not even listening to her. I know they're a protocol, but come on. Use your listening skills, operator lady. If you're wondering who Rich Homie Quan's girlfriend is, her name is Amber Williams, and the two have been a couple for quite a while. In fact, they have multiple children together. Here you see them together in 2020 at a gender reveal party for their son. We don't know too much about her except that she's a makeup artist and business owner who has 2 kids with Quan. One of their sons is 10 years old, which would suggest they've been together for at least that long. However, that isn't necessarily the case. In fact, despite their relationship looking healthy on the surface, it actually had quite a lot of problems. Although they had their first child 10 years ago, they never tied the knot, and his 10-year-old son wasn't even legally recognized until 2020. This was because Amber and Quan weren't actually together the whole time. They split up sometime after their son was born, but then got back together to work on their relationship and have another child. It looks like they split up around 2015, the same time when Quan was having his rough period, but by 2020 things were picking up. And in 2022, Quan was back in full swing. He had custody over his children. He was back with Amber, and his career was doing great, as he also released his debut album, Rich in Spirit, that fans had been waiting forever for. But it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. There was a darker side to Quan's life, and it stemmed from the early days of his come-up and his relationship with Young Thug, his best friend turned enemy. Quan was also part of Thug's ongoing RICO case. Rich Homie Quan mentioned in Young Thug's court case. Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug came up together, and their careers as well as lives are linked in many ways. They initially gained attention together through their joint projects, like their collaboration on the popular mixtape Rich Gang, The Tour Part 1. However, over time their relationship soured, which led to public feuds and sneak disses. Their beef is a complex one and has many different aspects to it, but it generally revolves around perceived betrayal and, according to Rich Homie Quan, jealousy. The timing of Rich Homie Quan's death is also significant because he just recently been in the headlines due to his involvement in Young Thug's ongoing court case. Only a few days before his death, YSL Woody, who's a star witness in the case against Thug, took the stand for the last time. YSL Woody is known to say wild things in the courtroom, and one time even roasted a detective. He said, "Detective Thorpe, his brain was the size of a squirrel brain. You could tell him anything and he'd go for it." This time he was asked what he thought about Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan's relationship. Instead of answering the question, Woody deflected it and asked Thug the question instead. It makes sense since Thug would probably know more about him and Quan's relationship than anybody else.
Did Thug have an issue with Rich Homie Quan bringing members of If Gang to his apartment?
Doug, did you have an issue with Rich Homie?
I'm asking you for what you told the police.
And I'm answering you. I just told you several times. I tell the police anything.
Okay.
In the clip, you'll see Young Thug and pretty much the whole courtroom laughing at the situation. If you're wondering what If Gang is, they're referring to the Inglewood family Bloods, which are a division of the Bloods that are said to have major beef with Young Thug's alleged gang, YSL. Rich Homie Quan is said to have been associated with EF Gang, and during a previous trial, an ex-detective made that claim in court.
Were there members of If Gang who were also involved in
Yes.
who were some of those?
YFN Lucci, Rich Homie Quan,
The beef with the Inglewood Bloods started when YSL allegedly killed their leader Donovan Thomas back in 2015, which interestingly enough is around the same time. The rich homie Quan and Young Thug beef started. Anyway, after Donovan Thomas was killed, a huge gang war erupted in Atlanta, leading to many murders, which is what the prosecutors are trying to pin on Thug. YSL Woody himself was even asked if he was the one who shot Donovan, which he's denied, but although it's not unheard of, it's certainly strange that two best friends would not only have beef with each other over music, but also join two rival gangs. You've got to remember, although Thug and Quan were both members of their rap group Rich Gang, Quan was never a member of YSL as it was formed in 2016 after the two parted ways. It seems like a lot of the things that happened that lead to Quan's problems started in the years around 2015 to 2017. He'd fall out with Thug, break up with his girlfriend, take a hiatus from music, and also start abusing drugs. Here's Quan speaking about that period of his life.
You know what I'm saying? I can't drop no music, my show money down. And I got a dark cloud over my head, bro. It probably was the person, I would definitely say, that probably was the lowest I was in my life.
Anyway, other things revealed in the RICO case show that it might not be just Thug that would have a problem with Quan. YSL Woody openly admitted to shooting at a barbershop that Quan owned.
Me and Threat shot up Rich Homie Quan Dad at the barbershop on Bankhead. I don't know what happened with Threat and Rich Homie Quan, but I'm gonna ride with my brother.
That admission was actually very recently, during a court case held on August 12th. When Woody was pressed on the matter, he revealed that the shooting didn't happen because of the YSL and IF gang beef, since it was 2 years prior to that, but that it occurred because of Threat's beef with rich homie Quan. The man who they're referring to as Threat would later become a YSL member and was actually shot and killed on June 29th, which people think may be related to the ongoing feud that YSL and their affiliates are involved in. Rich homie Quan, however, had something to say about the claim that Woody and Threat shot up his dad's barbershop. He called him a liar.
What is a liar? The barbershop did get shot up, but it wasn't like, I don't want to talk much into it, but it wasn't like he over-exaggerated.
Even though he acknowledged the shooting did occur, Quan quickly downplayed the severity of the event, and he said the barbershop did get shot up. It wasn't like what he said it was. The same day the barbershop got shot up, it was back up and running, so it couldn't have been like what he said it was. While Quan didn't delve too deeply into the specifics, his comments implied that it wasn't a big deal. In the end, Quan says, shout out to Woody, but no, Quan's been at the periphery of this case since the get-go, and back in October 2023 was even accused of being a snitch. Rich homie Quan's snitching allegations. That year, rumors started to circulate that Quan may have been an informant against Thug in the case. The duo turned rivals had been enemies for a while at that point, and allegations started coming out that Quan was snitching. It was said that rich homie Quan's involvement in Young Thug's RICO case originates from their shared legal troubles. Both rappers found themselves in hot water during a raid on Young Thug's home in 2015. Young Thug, born Jeffrey Lamar Williams, was arrested on multiple charges, while Quan faced his own problems in connection to the same incident. The two were still on good terms back then, but after that incident, rumors surfaced that suggested Quan may have cooperated with authorities in exchange for a lighter sentence. In other words, snitching. In a recent interview, rich homie Quan set the record straight, firmly denying any involvement as a snitch. He stated, "I need to address these rumors head on. I didn't snitch on anyone, and I never cooperated with the police. I've always stood by the principles of loyalty and integrity." Well, leaked audio may prove otherwise.
Scrap, man, niggas had something to do with what you can't prove. Right. Point blank period. I ain't no rat, I ain't telling them. I'm just being real with y'all.
Well, that does kind of sound like he was saying something he shouldn't be. Otherwise, why would he need to even say he's not being a rat? At the time, Quan was furious about the allegations and offered a huge sum of money to anyone that could prove that he snitched. At the time, Quan had this to say, "Did I snitch? My name ain't even on no paperwork, bro. Did you suck one? Get you up out of here, man. Find my name on this paperwork right here, and I'll give you $1 million. His manager, who's known as Rich Homie Monta, also had a few things to say about it. "I don't think there's a man in this world that's never talked about some type of business or some type of way they felt," Monta said in a lengthy Instagram video on July 5th, 2023. "All you do that." Upset by the situation, he even said, "At some point, all done snitched." Saying that at some point everybody has snitched probably wasn't the best way to clear his client's name, and people weren't buying it, especially Young Thug's sister. In a series of tweets, Thug's sister Dora Williams responded first by calling out Boozy Badass for allegedly siding with a snitch, before making clear that she'd defend her brother whenever, wherever. She also called Quan out for being a hypocrite and said, "The fact I went to Rich Homie Quan concert and he said free Thug so many times, came to find out you got a whole 30 minutes recording telling damn." So although Young Thug himself has never outright called Quan a snitch, his sister and many others believed he was. Another very intriguing part to all this is that rich homie Quan was actually set to testify in the case, but due to his untimely death, never got the chance. Rich homie Quan was set to testify after being subpoenaed by prosecutors to take the stand as a witness. On May 15, 2024, a social media account reported that rich homie Quan has been called as a witness, sharing photos of a subpoena issued to Quan. Rich homie Quan has officially been subpoenaed by the state in the Young Thug case. The post included the subpoena signed by Fulton County Lieutenant Investigator Justin French. He is expected to take the stand in the upcoming few weeks. Just to be clear, this does not mean he cooperated or will cooperate. Despite the claim that he probably wouldn't cooperate, he allegedly had already given the police a statement about Young Thug and his court case in the past. The same account that shared the news about Quan being a witness wrote, "Multiple good sources have confirmed to me Quan did give a police statement back in the day. We're going to see it in court." Rich homie Quan is one of multiple entertainers who have been tied to the YSL RICO trial in some form. Well, since he died before making it to court, it's unlikely we'll ever find out what the statement said. Snitching allegations aside, we know they had beef, but Quan had mentioned on numerous occasions that he supported Thug still, and was even willing to potentially squash the beef and make some more music together one day. It's unclear exactly what Young Thug's and rich homie Quan's relationship was like in the end, so let's take a look at what started their feud. Rich homie Quan and Young Thug's beef. The story of their feud is a complex one, but many say this was a big factor in it.
Hey, bro, nigga, get way back away from each other. I don't fuck with no fucking faggot. You back up your look up over here looking like Young Thug. Make sure that away from me.
Although that clip's pretty hard to understand, we can basically see him insulting a gay guy and saying that he looks like Young Thug. Despite that and numerous disses to each other, the two have generally kept quiet about it, and in interviews, Quan has said that he's cool with Young Thug.
Hey, even now, like, man, I don't got no bad blood with Thug. No.
But his and Thug's actions would say otherwise. Rich homie Quan and Young Thug were both prominent members of Rich Gang and released some massive hits like their song Lifestyle. But back in March 2016, Thug was scheduled to do a show in Santa Ana, and he'd decide to switch up the lyrics to the song and straight up diss Rich Homie. Instead of singing the chorus that goes, "Rich Homie thugga thugga in this mother," Thug switches it up and instead says, "Hey, Rich Homie." That wasn't the first time Thug has insulted Rich homie Quan on stage either. Another time he referred to him as homie Quan. That was a year before while he was on tour with Travis Scott. When asked about what he thought of that, Quan said he was really hurt by it. He said, "Not hurt as in I'm gonna cry, but dog, bro, I would never disrespect you, point blank period, especially when we have each other's numbers. There's certain stuff you do and certain stuff you don't do." When it comes to the actual event that triggered this hatred from Thug towards Quan, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what caused it. Quan is deliberately vague when discussing it and says he doesn't like to talk about it. Quan states that the beef was mainly due to a rift caused in their music careers and egos being involved with things like them constantly being booked together and disputes over money. He makes it sound as if he just wanted to go his separate ways and focus on his solo career. In an interview, Quan says this about the situation: "The started falling apart when we started getting booked for shows and shit. We all started getting booked together, and ego played a big role in it. Certain people, including myself, certain people felt like they should go last. Certain people wanted more money, and one of those, I ain't gonna say too much, but it started falling apart around then. There was never real tension between me and him. It's more about the around making it more than what it was. It looks like he was trying to downplay it and make people think it wasn't that serious and that their relationship was only ever really about the music. You've got to remember though, they were once so close that Thug called Quan his hubby and the two even went to middle school together. Still, while Quan was openly saying he could see their relationship getting fixed, Thug was sure that was never going to happen. When asked if we'd ever see more Thug and Quan music, this was his reply.
No, right. Because it'll be just...
It's more personal as opposed to...
Yeah, it's nothing about music. It's 100% personal. Like, this was my brother.
Yeah.
It's just like, bro. Now it's like, man, you probably can't never get the blessing of having me on the song, and I can never get the blessing of having you on my song again.
Thug then goes on to say that Quan will know exactly what he's talking about.
And as you say that to us, I don't know what you're talking about, but Quan, he know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes.
So what really happened between the two? From Quan's perspective, it was nothing too serious and he wanted to reconcile, whereas Thug seems to hold a much deeper grudge. Since he refers to him as his brother, it can't be anything as simple as egos getting in the way of their music careers. It's likely something much more serious. We don't know exactly what that is, but people think it's likely got something to do with the ongoing gang war between Thug's YSL and the Inglewood family Bloods, who we know Quan's associated with. One Reddit user had a very interesting claim, and from what we know so far, it could certainly be true. Quan's manager Big Nut was gunned down at a barbershop, and it was likely Thug who ordered the hit. There's evidence in the YSL indictment that point to this being true. Big Nut was also heavily connected, and apparently a leader of the Inglewood Bloods, Wife and Lucius set. The killing of Nut is what started the YSL versus YFN beef that eventually led to both crews getting taken down by Rico, no matter what happened between them. I think we can all agree that Quan dying before their relationship could be mended is pretty sad, especially since just days before he died, he was talking about fixing their issues, and regardless of their beef, rich homie Quan was always quick to yell free Thug. As more information about Quan's death and Thug's trial are revealed, maybe we'll one day find out exactly what caused the rift between two of rap's biggest duos. If you enjoyed this and want to see more of rap's most interesting stories, click on one of the on-screen cards.